pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, there are no visitors or delegations. Sienna has nothing to say to us tonight. Our only item of business is the pedestrian safety improvement and additional parking lot bids. So this is basically as presented to us at the last meeting, right? Where you talked through
the plan.
The plan
Correct.
itself is.
The plan pretty much aligns directly.
Put it out for bid, and we're going to talk about the bidding process and the successful bidder, and it's up to us to approve it tonight.
That's correct. So I've got Matt Wolford from Bray Architects on speakerphone here as well. So if we have any questions or if he has anything to add about this, because they were very much involved in helping us put together the plans with the engineers and the permitting and all of that. So, let's kind of rewind a little bit because we're about ready to approve a pretty large project using what we have remaining in our referendum funds. So if you recall, if we go back to sort of the original plans when we went to referendum in 2024, we had a list of the items that we were, planning to do. One of the items on there related to the middle school was fire suppression, and that was a pretty expensive part of that plan. And all along, we were continuing to ask the question: Was that necessary? Was that necessary? Is it required? Is it state required? We were still getting a "we think so" answer to that as we went through, and so of course we wanted to make sure that we had funds reserved for that. As we went through the process and with our architects that we did work with and through the remainder of the project, it was determined that that was not a requirement. That was not a state requirement to do that fire suppression.
So our original architect, we were led to believe that
that it was likely
sprinklers
required.
were going to, yeah, right.
And just to sort of add clarification to that, it is required across the border. So you go across the river, that's required. And that was the architect we were working with,
Right.
was
Out of
from across the
Minnesota.
river. And so
they were using Minnesota.
correct. As we moved through the planning process and realized we could use those funds elsewhere, we knew that we would have those funds available. And we've talked all along about if we come in with the bids really good, low bids, and how the project goes along, that what are we going to do with those remaining funds? And so we've kind of had those conversations of that. And so here's where we are. We have an opportunity to handle some pedestrian safety improvements at the high school, as well as add a much desired, to my understanding, additional parking in the back of the school. So,
and one thing is we can't just pick
right
projects that we think are necessary. They have to fit under the scope of the question that was asked.
Right.
And the question that was asked addresses district-wide safety, security, building systems, ground and infrastructure improvements. And we see those as fitting with the overall scope of the question that was asked. When you're going through the process of asking a referendum question, you want to be as detailed as possible to give those who are making the decision to vote yes or no on it, give them as much detail as possible, but also write the final question in a way that gives you the flexibility, and we were very clear on everything that we said, that these are approximates, and we know that the ebb and flow, the bidding process and those types of things can come into play. And so we're in a good situation now where we're addressing safety improvement pieces with how our middle school and high school kids walk to the high school. You say middle school kids, well, our middle school kids walk to that spot, and that's where they catch the bus.
Yeah.
We're addressing infrastructure issues in the back of the school, as well as safety issues in the back of the school as far as how we route our cars to events and things that take place on school grounds. Now they'll be able to go through what is the school entrance, not a county road that was never developed for that. It will allow parking to actually handle, again, what has been an issue since those fields were built. So that's the scope of how we arrived at this. And again, hopefully for the board, it's not a surprise. We've had conversations about this and this plan multiple times at multiple board meetings.
So then, moving on to the process of the bid, again, we've followed our policy. This was put out for public bid. We put this in the paper as our policy requires, and then it was sent, I believe, Matt, you can confirm or deny, it was sent directly to the bidders listed on this bid tab as well?
Correct.
Okay.
With the exception of my typo of Monarch paving should be Monarch paving, so I apologize for that.
Second one.
But yes, it was sent directly to these 7 vendors that are on, and the no bid received was not a formal response from those bidders saying they weren't bidding. We just simply didn't receive a bid from them, so, which is not unusual.
Can you open that tab?
Yep.
This one?
No,
Just
sorry, the other
the
one.
bid?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to see the list of bidders,
Yeah, we've got
or the list of,
Total, Monarch, Park Construction, Minnesota Roadways, Bituminous Roadways, S. Laskins Services, and George Siegfried Construction. So, with getting only one bid, then we're having conversation about how does this align with other projects and what the costs, especially what Matt and his architect firm have seen. We want to make sure if we're only getting one bid that it's not out of a,
Right.
It's in alignment with typical costs.
here's what I would say
right now.
about that is that Siegfried isn't an asphalt company. Total's not even an asphalt company. My guess is Monarch
That is correct.
is gonna be doing the asphalt for
Yes.
Total.
Yep.
And so, it doesn't look like we sent it out to asphalt companies, we sent it out to Siegfried's a general contractor, right? So they're just gonna, right, they did our remodel in our bank, right? They're a general contractor, so.
These are the 7 companies that came recommended through 2 local construction managers, and also were interested in the mill and overlay projects, which were awarded back in April, maybe, whatever we're doing the work at the high school and other places. So these came as not only local vendors, but you're correct. Monarch is the predominant asphalt paving company in western Wisconsin.
So what is Total? So if I've done projects with all, or not all of them, but those 2. To me, it would be the paving company that would, Total is gonna do the excavation work, but Monarch's gonna do the paving, and it's almost like it's in reverse order. It'd be like the paving company would get the bid, and they would outsource what Total's doing, so.
So this one's inversed a little bit because of the excavation required. So to excavate for the new parking lot and for the new walkway, to put in the retaining wall that will be required on the west side of the current entry drive adjacent to the stormwater pond, that's more work that Total would do versus Monarch. And so in this case, Total came in with the bid with Monarch as a subcontractor to them. So Total will get them to sub-base, and then Monarch will take it from there for the majority of the parking lot side. The site concrete work Total potentially will be doing themselves. They had 3 subs in their bid: electrical, fencing, and Monarch. So the sidewalk work, the ramps, the stairs, the walkways, that likely will be Total doing that work. And I'm sure most of you know they're a River Falls based company, so that's a positive, I think, in terms of the bid we did receive. But we did not exclude any bidders. The public advertising, any bidder that wanted access to this would have been sent the plans.
So, and you're confident that this is a reasonable bid, that this isn't out of whack, but that this was in line of what the market would typically bear right now?
Yeah, the 870,799 number is in alignment. And full transparency, I thought the new parking lot, the 625 number would have been higher, and the pedestrian pathway would have been lower based on our initial thoughts. But the ballpark number of around 900 is in alignment. Keep in mind that the numbers below the line that are adding up, the bad soils contingency, the general contingency, that is for some work that's already been done, land surveying, geotechnical services. We do know there are bad soils adjacent to the stormwater pond where the retaining wall is going that we have to account for with contingency, so that's in here. We need site surveying done during the construction of the parking lot and the walkway to make sure it's built correctly. So that's also in here. And then there is existing irrigation that is under the green space that will be converted to the parking lot. And so we're carrying an allowance within that general contingency line item, the 7.5% number. I will never say we're confident in a number. I think these are really good contingencies, but if all of us remember how the tennis courts deteriorated pretty quickly, and what we just experienced.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
good
you.
clarification. Yeah.
And what we found under the high school parking lot on the east side when we did the mill and overlay, the soils aren't great around here, so we're carrying a healthier contingency than normal. So the contract technically to total would be the 870,799, but we know there's some contingency consumption needed right out of the gate for bad soils. That's why we're trying to put what we hope and believe is the worst case scenario in front of you right now as a board.
And what do you mean by bad soils?
So when you excavate, so we do soil borings. They drill little holes, 4-inch holes all over the place, but we do them 30 feet on center, 40 feet on center, whatever it is. We may not see any bad conditions there that wouldn't support the weight with a traditional base course. Put down 6 inches of gravel, 4 inches of base, and a 2-inch lift of asphalt, for example. So when they get out there and actually expose all the subgrade and the soils below, it's highly likely we're going to find some things that aren't perfect. And if we're going to spend this much money, our recommendation is to always carry a healthy contingency so that when you find that pocket of bad soil below grade, you can pull it out, replace it, compact it, put gravel or sand in, and make it a really solid long-term parking lot that's going to serve you for decades to come.
Okay, bad soil might be clay, it might be a wet spot.
It's too sandy, to me, it's more like sandy, so it's not stable, right? You gotta, if you compact it,
correct. We run into what we call organics, so peat, or they took bad fill from the high school that when they were building the new high school, they excavated a foundation, found a bunch of tree roots and other things, and they just dumped them out back, right, and leveled it off, which is what every project does. And now we want to build over it. Yeah. Over time, those tree roots or peat or things will decompose and sink once we put the weight on it. The weight of grass and people playing a handful of soccer games or PE events a year aren't going to cause that to happen. But when we put asphalt and gravel and trucks and cars on it, you will see degradation of that base. So that's what we're protecting against here.
That's what I was wondering, if it might be fill from the construction. Okay, all right.
It's highly likely. We found a lot of interesting stuff up at the tennis courts, which is why I think this is a more conservative contingency than we would typically recommend, but we think it's smart right now, given what we know up there.
Okay.
If we don't, for whatever reason, I know we anticipate using a good deal of the contingency money, but if we end up not needing it, what happens to that money?
Continues to stay in that pot for other projects.
Okay.
And again, we have a deadline for
Yeah,
spending
what is the
those
deadline
funds.
again?
June of '27.
Okay.
What,
Those dollars will not be in the contract, they will be in the district coffers. The only way the contractor, if you approve total tonight, the only way they could expend any of those contingency funds is by making a request to the district, and the BRAE team and our engineers will review that request to make sure it's in compliance, meaning it wasn't supposed to be in their bid. So like I said, we know there are some bad soils for the retaining wall. That will be a legitimate request from total after it's vetted to make sure the dollars are reasonable. Same thing for surveying services, irrigation, etc. But we're not just going to let them consume that contingency because they want to. They have to justify it.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
how much money do we still have sitting in that pot?
After this is approved or prior?
Both.
Well, we're still paying out the projects from last summer. So we have not gotten final pay apps for, I believe, three or four of our projects.
But assuming
last summer.
that's already spoken for.
Correct.
Assuming that those are all paid out in full.
Yep.
Once this project is done, probably about $800,000.
Okay.
And that's at that's the 800 or this 1.1 million? The 1.1. So it'd be.
That's at the 1.1.
So if it was
Potentially we could have.
870, let's say it's 900,000, so 130,000 additional, so then we'd have 900, right? And do we have?
A project that would fit in that.
We have,
Right, so we
there's a
do-
lot of wish list stuff that.
We sure do, and one of the, we go to that capital projects list, the summer capital list, if we can pick off some of those.
As long as they're
And
within the scope of the question.
as long as they meet the language that was written, and approved.
The other thing to remember too is we have a lot more interest income from our investments than what we originally had planned.
Well, we
So-
can only earn so much interest. There is a cap on the amount of interest that we can earn and retain. So once we meet that max, which we knew that all along, that was the plan, and which is why we took out issued one
Right.
bond at one time.
Right.
Rather than trying to wait and see if interest rates went up or down, because we
Right.
did get a really good interest rate on the loan, on the debt. And so that was strategic. We knew we were going to meet our max interest earnings. So we will be paying back some of that, and that's all being calculated in there to make sure that we're not spending those interest dollars that we're gonna need to pay back in arbitrage.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve this project as presented?
So moved.
I'll second.
And moved and seconded. Any further questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We're adjourned. There.
Thanks, Matt.
Go.
Excellent, thanks, board.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Bye.